Hey everybody, it's Mark and Justin again. Awkward Fist Bump Productions. Boom! What's been going on, brother?
What's going on, bro? How are y'all today?
Oh man, doing all right, man. Hey, I think last week's YouTube phenomenon, whatever you want to call it, video was freaking awesome. What do you think?
Came out pretty good. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I think it's going to work, dude. I think it's going to work. So listen, dude, part of this show, as we talked about last week, is talking about issues in law enforcement, issues in prison, kind of hit everything because, one of the biggest things is the misconception, or I don't know, maybe not the word misconception, is the negative look on law enforcement today. And as you know, two of your hosts are law enforcement officers, me and Ashley. Sorry, hey, Ashley couldn't make it today. Sorry about that, dude. But
We'll get it
look,
next time.
yeah, we got her. We got her. So, but we wanted to talk about, the different issues within the facilities themselves once a person gets locked up, and figure no better person than Justin to talk about it. So, we're going to talk about contraband in prison and why it's a big deal for officers. However, inmates don't understand. So let's talk about it. So
Okay.
you served 10 years in Georgia prisons.
Yeah.
How bad is the contraband problem in Georgia prisons?
It's very relevant. It's there. I think. I can't speak on other states how much contraband is in other states, but
Yeah.
as a prisoner, that's part of doing our time. Is how can we get stuff in? How can we make our time easier? And a lot of times it's like, what can we get that we're not supposed to have? So
Yeah.
like,
So so I speak about it from the law enforcement standpoint, and of course, having worked in facilities myself, I don't get it. I don't get how you guys get contraband. I mean, you got the old throwing the football over the gate. Now they're doing actually flying drones. But I know we've talked in the past, and one of the biggest sources of contraband is corrupt correction officers. So talk to me about that, dude.
so there is definitely a million ways to get stuff in, every way that you can think of. And once we find out a way to get something in, and then y'all find out about it, we've already working on another way to get it in.
Wow. What kind of
So,
stuff can you get in?
everything that you can think of, like every sort of drug. If you want a pill, you can get pills. If you want meth, you can get meth. Heroin is not that bad, but it's still in there. Uh, I think they took out cigarettes in Georgia in the end of 2009, beginning of 2010,
Yeah.
and so that turned into a huge moneymaker of how to get tobacco in and selling tobacco because it's been in the system for sale on the store forever,
Yeah.
and now you're taking smoking away. So that opened up a huge market of getting contraband in and getting cigarettes in, and we like it's like buying candy, and you can get it as easy as it is to get somebody to store your food out. Like
So, what would you say is the biggest piece of, I guess, single piece of contraband that comes into prisons today?
tobacco, weed, and meth.
Tobacco, and is it in that order? Tobacco, weed, and meth?
Well, yeah, tobacco. Well, yeah, and phones. Tobacco, weed, meth, and phones.
Phones. All right. So I gotta ask you, dude, how the heck do y'all get phones into the facility? Because listen, guys, as a former CO, I'll tell you, um, security, we have to go through rigorous checks. It's just like going through the airport, man. We got to walk through an X-ray machine. If we have a bag, it's got to be scanned through, that big old machine that it slides through, and they look through the computer and see what's in there. And then, uh, you know, if you set anything off, especially going through the metal detector, they're going to scan you down, they're going to search you, and this, that, and the other. So, what I'm going to say to you, dog, is how in the heck did cell phones get into the facility? Because I know that's probably not something you can just throw in a football, is it?
Oh, it definitely is. Oh,
Okay.
you could make $20,000 off of one football
$20,000
at
off of
least.
one football.
At
Now,
least.
keep in mind, boys and girls, if you're watching this show, we are not saying to throw footballs into a prison.
No, do not. Do not.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and that's really an old school way of doing it, you know. And the drone thing, you know, you know, I've been out for almost a year now, and I'm pretty sure that's almost old school now too. Like
So
on,
how are people getting the contraband into facilities?
man, there's so many different ways. I mean, like you said with officers, and there's different ways, techniques of how they're able to get it in through, you know, like what y'all would call, like what you would call corrupt officers, and being able to get stuff in. And then, you know, there's the drone drops, trying to drop it certain places in the prison where there's maybe not a camera or something, or,
Yeah.
you know, and so like there really is multiple different ways. And like I said, like every time y'all find out about a way that it gets in, we've already
Yeah.
thought five more, 10 more other ways of how else could we get it in once y'all caught it this way.
That's
So,
crazy. Because when we did our show, like I will say that Sheriff Lamb in Pinal County had his place on lockdown. Now it was probably county, whereas prison might be a different, just an entirely different creature. But I will tell you that most of our contraband was cheeked medication.
say that again.
Was cheeked medication, so they would take the pill and they would cheek it so they wouldn't swallow it, in other words. And then
Okay.
after the officer left and the nurse left, they'd spit it out and sell it.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, yeah. Like during pill calling stuff.
Yeah, yeah, during pill call. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I mean, in the county, like I said, every county is different. Every prison is different. Every dorm is different. But
Yeah,
county, it is a lot harder to get stuff in because there's
yeah.
no movement. There's no activities going on for people to move around, and because like moving around, you're able to do more stuff. You know,
Yeah.
you're able to figure things out. You're able to you got more wide open space to do things. And in the
So,
county, you're locked down into one dorm all
yeah,
the time.
yeah. So the one thing that I realized when I worked, because I've worked in several aspects of law enforcement. I started out at the state, in the prison, and the one thing I can tell you that I saw is I think a lot of people would smuggle in contraband. When I say people, I mean staff. Whether it be
Hmm.
officers or counselors or the kitchen staff, because the money is so doggone terrible, man. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
when I first started in 2013, I had just gotten out of the army, and uh, the thing that I thought was crazy, dude, was I worked at a level 5. I actually worked at the High Max there at Jackson, which Jackson is the male reception prison for all males going to the prison system in Georgia. But I worked at the High Max, and the one thing that I just found completely crazy, dude, was you got a pay bump for being a veteran. You got a pay bump, and what I mean by pay bump is pay raise.
Yeah.
So if you were a veteran, you made a little bit more. If you worked at a high max facility, you made a little bit more. But at the end of the day, I only made about 30K, man. After all my pay bumps, I made about 30K. So I have never condemned ever bringing contraband into the facility at all. That said, when you have a family, 3 kids, what have you, you will see that 30,000 a year is just not paying the bills, dude. So
Nope.
that's what I saw. As I said, I will never say that what they did was right, because I think it was completely wrong, because you've lost your integrity, and for me the big thing is integrity. But that's the reason why I saw a lot of people doing it. Why don't you talk to me, Justin, about the guards themselves, man? I mean, because I'm sure you had officers that brought in contraband.
Oh
Did
yeah.
they have a reason? What was their reason?
That was the biggest reason was because they could make their paycheck plus in one day.
One
One,
day.
yeah. I mean, it would literally be able to. like they could bring stuff in 1, maybe 2 days a week
Yeah.
and make their their paycheck, if not double their paycheck. And when the money's right, when the right person is talking to them and they got that money on hand, I mean, it looks good. And they're like, and like a lot of times they'll come to them, look, this is how you do it. This is how much I'm gonna pay you. And they're just like they just see that money sign. And for a lot of people that are struggling, if
Hmm.
somebody walks up to you and says, "Here's a way to make your paycheck or your paycheck plus your paycheck in 1, 2 days,"
Yeah.
you just got to do this. You're like, oh man,
Jeez.
you're able.
So, so I think it's wrong. I think if you take the oath of office and you agree, hey, I'm going to be an officer for the criminal justice system, whether it be on the outside or the inside, I think that you need to hold to that oath. But I'm going to ask you this, and I'm afraid to actually hear the answer. But out of all the officers, if you were to put a percentage on how many officers are corrupt, how many would you say are corrupt?
Now that is a hard number to put
Yeah,
because when they're doing it, they are so good at like hiding it
yeah,
that you don't know. And inmates are also the same way. Like some of them don't flaunt it, so they're
yeah,
good at hiding. Like a poker face. Like their poker face is really good because a lot of times you don't know who's corrupt. And I've seen it with some of the higher ups
yeah.
that we have found out that they're corrupt, but their poker face are so two faced that they'll be the ones that bring it in bulk, and they're the ones making almost the most money bringing contraband. And then there'll be those same ones that come turn right around and bust you for it.
So you said the higher ups. How high up would you say? What's the highest person you saw demote, or I guess fired or even arrested? What was the highest ranking person in the prison that was doing dealings with inmates?
Oh man, I mean, I've heard of and I've seen people from counselors doing it,
Yeah,
CERT team members doing it, uh, the dog man who's the drug man and the dog man and the gang man,
yeah.
they're doing it. Like
Any
I'm saying,
wardens? Any assistant wardens or whatnot?
not that I've seen,
Yeah,
not
because
that I've
that
seen.
that point they're making a lot of money.
Yeah, at that point they're making really good money, and they've gone through the ringer, and so like they've proved themselves.
Yeah,
So not so much wardens and assistant wardens, but you know, lieutenants, and it's not always who brings it in,
yeah,
but even the LTs and the sergeants and the high ups, they might not be bringing it in,
yeah.
but they'll turn their head when they know something's coming in,
What?
and they can get paid for that too.
Oh, so if I just turn my head, I'm going to get a little bit of cash.
Yeah, so like if you're somewhere in the middle and they know that you could stop it or prevent it from somehow coming in or getting moved around,
Yeah,
hey, you don't got to bring it in, but we need you to keep your mouth shut, turn your head. You don't see nothing, you don't say nothing.
yeah, yeah,
So, you know, but then, like I said, like even some of the higher ups, the dog man, the drug man, the gang man, they could be some of the main people bringing it in
yeah,
and
yeah.
then turning
So,
around and busting your dorm up for contraband.
so the officers that actually got caught, how would you say they got caught? Would they do an inmate wrong and the inmate would turn around and rat them out, or how did that usually go for an officer that got caught?
So a lot of times, yeah, like if somebody gets busted, they try to save their own ass and they'll rat them out. Hey, this is who brought it in.
Uh,
And uh but I've also seen it where inmates have ratted them out. I mean, there was a sergeant at the level 5 camp I was at that was getting it in, and they had somebody on their crew that found out about what was going on, and he got in trouble for something
yeah,
completely different,
yeah,
and he ratted him out. Well, when people in the prison found out that he ratted out the officer, the word got around to the main person who was working with him, and they ended up calling him on his personal phone and tell him don't come back to work.
They didn't arrest him though. They just
They
fired him
couldn't. He
because
quit.
they couldn't prove it. They couldn't
They
prove
couldn't
it.
prove it. He quit.
Yeah.
So he
So
was able to get the phone call before he even came to work the next day that, hey, this person on our crew got ratted out everybody and told on you. They found our stash. Don't come back to work.
yeah. So
And they
if
just quit.
you're watching this episode and you're a corrections officer thinking about becoming a corrections officer, a detention officer thinking about becoming a detention officer, you listen to this man right here because it might be nice right now, but they come in, they bust that inmate dog, and guess what? Guess who's also being walked out the doors? Because I know maybe not at your camp, but I've seen people arrested for that, man, and they will you will do the walk of shame and you'll walk
Oh
out.
yeah.
And I know in Jackson, where I worked at, if they caught someone, they would call in the local sheriff's office. They would
Yeah.
dress them out back in the back where the offices were, and they would walk them out. So you would have to walk the whole length of the prison in your new jumpsuit. So take that as a warning if you're definitely a CO or thinking about being a CO, whatever, whatever. I'm just saying, dog.
Yeah.
Um, but so
And like when it comes to contraband, like
yeah,
that's one thing I like about this channel because like we got two different views. Like, you went in, you did 60 days in and you tried to find how it was coming in, who brought it
hmm
in. And for me doing 10 years, contraband is what helped me do my time.
yeah,
And
yeah. So actually, that's a good point. So as an officer, the reason why we limit contraband is because who knows what you could use the contraband for, or whether it's getting high, smoking, because you're trying to feed an addiction, or there's a reason why it's considered contraband. Whether it's too many books in a cell, what people don't realize, man, and I know that sounds crazy to you, but if I have 200 books, guess what? Now I can start a fire. And I know
oh
that
yeah.
sounds completely crazy, but I can start a fire, which could lead to a whole bunch of other stuff. So why don't you talk to me about the inmate side of it? Because we have a reason. First of all,
Yeah.
it's illegal or whatever, but there's a reason why we consider it contraband, and it ultimately leads to officer safety, safety of the public, the ability to keep people from breaking out or whatever. Why don't you talk to me about contraband from an inmate standpoint?
So okay, now getting contraband in, it makes our time easier.
Yeah,
And I've been in camps where contraband is very expensive and
yeah,
very limited.
yeah,
And when you're in a camp that is very expensive and very limited, the violence is high.
yeah.
The violence is through the roof. And
Where it's hard
because,
to get in. You just said where contraband is hard to get in, violence
yes,
is a lot
it's high.
worse.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
So when there's a camp where the warden has done, put in multiple different measures to make sure it doesn't come in, then, it's a lot harder to get it in, then the violence just skyrockets.
Yeah,
And then I've been to a camp where it just flooded. I
yeah.
mean, it's easier to go get weed than it is to go borrow a suit.
Really?
Seriously. And I mean, at this one camp that it was the most flooded camp I was at, I was in a dorm of I think 120, maybe 130, something like that.
Yeah.
And there was at least 65 bones in there.
Bones.
So
65
at
phones.
least, yes.
Okay.
So, and that's just in one dorm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where the level 5 camp, a flip phone would go for $1,200
Yeah.
without the charger, just the flip
Without
phone,
the charge. So here's
without
my
the,
thing, dog. I'm just saying, I'm trying to think from an inmate standpoint. If I'm spending $1,200, man, for a stinking flip phone, come on, dog. Give me the charger. I'm just saying.
oh yeah, but it's money.
Yeah.
Money talks.
So, okay, let's say I get a flip phone and I want a charger for my flip phone because my flip phone is going to die. How
Yeah.
much would I be spending?
I've seen it going for 1,300.
Jeez.
And you don't. I mean, and then if you end up burning up your battery, that's $100.
Jeez.
If something happens to your charger, that's $100.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So, but I've been in a camp where you can buy a flip phone for $150.
Jeez. Yeah.
You can get the
100. Okay. So, how about if you're talking about 150 to 1,200 for a stinking flip phone, how about a doggone iPhone or Android device?
Okay, so for the most part, there is iPhones. I've been out a year, so they could have got more in there, but there wasn't a lot of them.
Okay.
There was more Androids, the ones that you can the cheap ones, just a
Yeah.
cheap Walmart prepaid Android,
Yeah.
and you know, about a middle camp where it's not flooded, but it's
Yeah.
not super hard to get in.
Yeah.
A, a touchscreen could cost you anywhere between $600 and $800.
So, how are the phones getting in? The most of the phones. Is it the
So
football,
okay,
the soccer ball, the doggone drone, or is that officers? Which, if it is officers, I don't know how because
well,
I don't
okay,
know how
so
you would
like
clear security.
I know I'm out of prison. I know that's my past
Yeah.
and all that, but I still know that there's ways that they're still getting it in now.
Oh.
So I'm not gonna like completely tell you how they get it in
Oh. He's not gonna be a rat. He's not gonna be a rat, y'all.
because I don't want because I know that that's still different ways that they get it in. So I'm not just gonna put it out there like that.
Yeah.
But like the old school way was the football,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much obsolete because you got the P car that drives around
Yeah.
24/7.
So what a P car is it stands for perimeter car. It's a person, an officer that drives in a vehicle and they just do circles all day long to make sure nothing happens. And
Yeah.
I never actually worked in a P car. That was usually, at least in my prison, that was a female-based position or predominantly female position. And
And it's if an officer gets written up
yeah,
or gets too many complaints, they put him
yeah,
in the P car.
ooh, yeah. I guess I didn't
So
have that many complaints either.
yeah, so like if officer does like a dorm wrong and the whole dorm stands up and writes kites against them,
Yeah.
they'll put him out in the P car for a week or two.
So
But
the thing about the P car, by the way, is it just does circles all day long, or well, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if they catch you, what a lot of people don't realize is corrections officers have the same powers as police officers on the property. So they would pull you over, arrest you, call a local sheriff's office out to take you away. So
they've done
so
that when I was at my level 5 camp.
okay, okay,
We were going to breakfast and they ended up shutting down the camp, stopped
yeah,
serving, and uh, we were still outside while this was going on. Like we were on our way to chow,
yeah,
and we heard all the sirens. Like we heard the call come over their officers' radios that were out there, and they ended up putting us back in our dorms and not feeding us because they pulled over a car that was suspicious, and they were actually throwing stuff over the fence.
oh jeez,
So they arrested somebody's girlfriend or somebody that they had to come do it, and the P car actually ended up catching them.
jeez,
But
jeez.
and then also like you said about the drone. So when drones first came out, yes, I was like, oh, yeah, everybody can use this. We can do this. But I think that it's starting to get obsolete. It's starting to get pushed away, and there's probably other ways that they're using, other ways to get contraband in.
Yeah.
But that did work for a little while. But now they're
Hmm.
starting to put up like
Nets or whatever to keep them from.
well, not no not the nets, but it's like the sensors to cut the drone sensor off,
Ah.
and
So how
like
are they
because
doing
it
it now? If you were to guess, because I know you've been out for a year.
yeah. Really the
You're not
officers
gonna you're not gonna
no.
say it, are you? Yeah.
But it is a lot of the officers. It's probably 90% of how it gets in. But I mean, they're the ones going in and out the door 24/7.
Jeez.
But and so like, and I understand like how they take the code of conduct and things
Yeah.
like that. So like, I know from your point of view, you're like, no, we don't want no officers like that. And to me, doing 10 years, I'm like, we
You
want
do
those
want
officers.
officers.
But it's not always good though, right? Because like phones and cigarette and weed, if you got them three things, your
Yeah.
camp will be a lot more calmer. But then you start bringing in the meth and the heroin and the pills and the strips and stuff like that. It
Yeah.
just it's horrible. I hate it. I cannot stand
So you're like, some drugs can come in and it's
some
okay,
drugs, yeah,
but not all drugs.
but not all drugs because they will completely turn a camp upside down for the
Yeah.
worst. Like,
Yeah. In the state of
because
Georgia, by the way, we're not California. We're not some of the out west states. Marijuana is illegal. Period. Not to
yeah,
smuggle in, but it's illegal. Period. So
yeah,
yeah. So I would have to disagree with you there, but that's just
that's
me because
fine.
I'm an officer. All right. But yeah. Okay. So keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine. So that is really those three things help make people's time go by
Yeah.
that are actually doing long stints.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I was able to speak with I did everything I could to talk to my wife. I did 10 years. We've been together almost 14. She stayed down with me the whole time.
Yeah.
And I did everything I could to be able to speak to my wife. I hate those phones on the wall. Those 15, 20-minute phone calls, $3 to $5 a phone call,
Yeah.
monitored phone calls. I hate those phones.
Well, see, what's funny is I love those phones, and I'll tell you why. I know you because you're my brother-in-law, but the whole point in those calls in the facilities is so we know you guys as a whole aren't conducting illegal activity on the outside. Um,
and and that's a very small fraction of what those phones are, like, what the cell phones are used for.
yeah,
Like, and I know the officers are like, oh my God, cell phones are so bad, and y'all could start riots, and y'all can, send messages to other camps and get
yeah.
somebody hurt or send an
Well,
attack
and I
on
know
us.
I know that did happen because
Oh
at
yeah,
my camp, we had some guys that came back. I don't even remember what prison it was, but they were it was up in North Georgia, and they were moving them. And the dude got off the doggone he got off the doggone bus, and he was immediately shanked and killed because there was a hit put out on him, and they wouldn't have known if it hadn't have been for the phones.
yeah, and I would say that's 2% of what those phones are used for.
Yeah, yeah. But
All of
isn't two
them.
percent too much? Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
It, and see, okay, like if it's that's a very touchy subject
Yeah.
because I don't wish harm on nobody,
Yeah.
but I also understand you doing time and you get in trouble for something and then you go rap for somebody else just because he has something you don't have.
Yeah.
And that's like the biggest thing, like people will rap just because they don't got it.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the money or the funds to get a phone or to smoke and they want to, or they don't have the family members on the outside that can send them the money, but then
Yeah.
they got somebody two bunks down from them that has a cell phone that never goes to chow. And when I say never goes to chow, that means you got money
Yeah.
because you hate
Because
eating
you
that
eating
state food.
somehow. You eating
Yeah.
somehow. Yeah.
Oh, we eating good if you ain't going to chow.
Yeah.
So a lot of people get jealous about that. And so there are a lot of people that will rap because they don't have nothing.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's like, I hate that because a lot of times, and I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of times, people who have stuff, they are some of the most caring people in prison.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everybody, because you got your gang members who are only about their gang and they only helped each other out. But like people, like more civilians and stuff like that, who are got money and stuff like that, they help people out that have that don't have anything, that don't have food, that don't have money, that
Yeah.
and like you have to set up an account to use those payphones. And sometimes like you run out of money on those phones, but you need to still make a phone call. So these cell
Yeah.
phones are able to talk to your families, talk to your wives, talk to your kids, to help you get money on your books, to help you relieve stress in your time, to be able to talk. Because like I'm pretty sure like you like to talk to your wife, and if you go a couple of days without seeing her or talking to her, you can talk to her for 30, 40 minutes, an hour easily
Yeah.
and not
Well,
and not even think
I
about
don't
it.
really talk on the phone. I'm terrible about
But
that. So,
yeah,
yeah. I'm not going to talk 30, 40, 45 minutes.
but
You might be lucky to get 10 minutes out of me.
but that's what I would say 98% of the phones are used for is
Yeah.
to talk to your wife or girlfriend, talk to your kids, talk to your family members and your parents and loved
Yeah.
ones, and to send a quick message out. Hey, I hope you're doing good. I love you. Or, hey, I really need some help this week. Can you or somebody in the family help me out with $20?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and like a lot of, and like, oh, hey, it's my cousin's birthday. It's my mom's birthday, and to be able to send them a text or a quick message or a quick phone call. Hey, I love you. Happy birthday, whatever, you know, it goes a long way.
Yeah.
And so, like, yes, the phones are used for to get things in, to talk to people, to move money around, to send out hits, but that's not the main thing. Like I said, most people just want to talk to their family without being monitored and without being shut off because once they start a conversation, I mean, a lot of times we just like to hear what y'all are doing on the streets when we're in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So to be able to sit down and listen to your mom, your cousins, your family, like, oh, how's work going? How's your friends? How's church? How's the kids' baseball game going?
Yeah.
And they start talking, and those 15 to 20 minutes goes up like that.
They're gone.
And it makes
Yeah.
you so irate when you have 30 seconds
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, okay, I love you. You got to go,
Yeah.
But to be able to use the phones really helps a lot of people do their time a lot easier. And,
Okay.
you know, at first I was like, I'm new to prison. First time I've been to prison, I went to a level 5 camp, one of the worst 5 camps in Georgia almost.
Yeah.
And, I didn't want to deal with it at all. I didn't want to, I'm a civilian. I didn't know nothing about it. So
Yeah.
I, after, and then, and this is another story, but after I got stabbed and went to the hole, uh, I was like, all right, I'm going to do my time way different because now I see what prison's like. I know that, today could be my last day.
Yeah.
I got 10 years to do in this hellhole. How can I make it easier for myself and my family? And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's like once I got out and I got to the next dorm, that's when I started like, how can I talk to my wife more? What do I need to do? How can I do it? I started putting up phones, making hiding spots for phones, charging phones.
Yeah.
Uh, at other camps, I ran phones, which is like somebody who has a phone, but they don't want to deal with all the headache of putting contract, like people who paid them contracts.
Yeah.
Like you get 30 minutes 3 times a week, you get
Yeah.
30 minutes a day, whatever. So I would put people on that had contracts, put them on. Somebody that came up and paid money, I'd give them a time slot when they could come in and ran it like a business, really.
Yeah.
And that's how I was able to speak with my wife every day. And,
Yeah.
I did everything I could to talk to her.
If you're watching and you're law enforcement, this is not me saying it's okay for you to have a phone, but we are having a complete confrontational talk about law enforcement. I would love to hear on the next episode or maybe a few other episodes about you getting stabbed because that just sounds terrible. But hey, we're
Yeah.
going to go ahead and cut it off from here. If you like, fist bump the subscribe button, hit the notification button as well. Also, if you feel like supporting us, and we are not asking for money, but obviously we would like the microphones, we'd like better lighting so you guys can enjoy our episodes a little more. Look down at the bottom. Our Patreon link is there. So if you feel like led to support us, we would love it, but it's not going to be a requirement.
The
Love
biggest
you.
thing that you could do is like our videos, subscribe, turn on the
Share.
bell
Yep,
notifications, and
share those.
share.
Yes, share those videos. All right, y'all. We love y'all. Fist bump. Boom. And we will talk to you later.